Hey guys, today I'm really excited to nerd out about the Beatles mega set, and this of course is depicting the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Now the day I'm posting this is the actual 60th anniversary of the Beatles' appearance on this historic show, and as a die-hard lifelong Beatles fan, this is so cool to actually get to review here. Now, I purchased this with my own money, so all thoughts are my own, and of course here on the channel we're always talking about Lego, so it is kind of interesting to change it up and talk about Mega this time around, but I do have a lot of positive things to say about this, but let's get the negatives out of the way right up front. This cost $80. Yes, you heard me right, $80, and that's a lot of money in today's market. Now, a big reason why this costs so much is you can see all of these wires here and this USB wire over here. This set is actually wired to have lights turn on. So basically they turn on when you click this Beatles sign, and you're not going to be able to see it right now with my studio lights, but we're going to take a closer look at it in just a moment. But of course, let's start off by taking a look at the figures of the Fab Four. So we're going to start off with the figures here. I think that's what everybody's most excited about, and it's kind of crazy. I think that they did really good in some places, not so great in other places, and I really don't know how I feel about the figures. Like, for example, I think the Ringo likeness is really good, but Paul, on the other hand, he looks like he's like 75-year-old Paul, but from 1964? It's really hard to explain. I don't think the George likeness is very good at all, and the John likeness is okay, but not great. So in order of best to worst, I would say Ringo, John, Paul, and George. Anyways, each Beatle comes with their instrument of choice. Of course, Ringo's drum set is built into the set. We'll take a look at that. But Ringo does have these big drumsticks, and he's a good one to take a look at because he doesn't have a guitar blocking him. You can see his knees are posable. He's posable at the hips where, you know, the legs can move for him to be able to sit. You can move them at their shoulders as well as their elbows and their wrists. So they're basically like mini action figures in that regard. So we'll set Ringo over here. We'll start taking a look one by one. George does have his big guitar, but in the 60s, George was playing a Gretsch Country Gentleman, and this guitar doesn't really have the correct shape, it doesn't have the right color, and it only has one pickup instead of George's, which had two. There's no bridge on there. George had two switches up top. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a gear snob. I'm a huge Beatles fan and a musician myself, so I think that they probably ran into some kind of like licensing issue where they couldn't make the instruments exactly what they needed to be, but they got close enough, I guess. I'd say Paul's Hofner looks the best, but we'll get to him in a second. So that's George. Doesn't look terrible, doesn't look great, it just kind of is what it is. For Paul, we do get the Hofner violin bass, but you'll see that it has the Mega logo at the top of the headstock there. And I forgot to mention on George that they come with this like little rubber strap that goes on the strap locks of the guitar. So they did do a lot of really great detail in that regard, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just so used to looking at Lego bricks and Lego figures that I'm just not used to seeing this, but Paul's bass doesn't have any pickups on it. And again, you can see what they were going for, but they probably got as close as they could without getting into any kind of like licensing or copyright infringement. So that's Paul. And finally, we have John Lennon. Looks really good, but of course his guitar was a 3/4 scale Rickenbacker guitar, so it should be much smaller than it is here. John's guitar had 3 pickups, it had all kinds of knobs down here, so I mean, again, I realize I'm being a bit of a gear snob, but you are paying almost $100 for this after tax and shipping is added in, so, you know, I think it's okay to be a little bit snobby when you're paying so much money for it. But anyways, let's take a look at the set now. So I did promise we'd take a look at Ringo's drums, and they did get the drums right as far as having a floor tom, a rack tom, a snare, hi-hat, crash, and ride, but really, again, I'm getting really nerdy here, Ringo's ride, the bigger cymbal, was on this side, and the smaller cymbal was on this side. You would have to move some pieces around, but you could technically make that customization if you wanted to, but like I said, I'm just showing you the set as it is. So we've got his little seat back there that you can sit him on, and you'll see there are some studs right there on the floor where Ringo's feet can lock into so that you can put him in place. But again, I just wanted to take a quick look at the drum build itself. It's pretty simple, and we do get that nice Beatles printed logo on the drum head, and overall, I do think it looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got the figures placed on their instruments, and one other thing to note is you can see that there are little rubber cables that attach to all of their guitars. That's a really, really cool nod to history, and I really like that because it's actually factual with how it looked on the show with the wires laying on the ground, and I do think it looks really good at the end of the day. Now, as we look around the outskirts of the set, there are so many cool details, like this Ed Sullivan Show sign with the date and the Beatles name. We've also got an Ed Sullivan Show logo right here. We've got a Beatles tile up front, and on the camera, you can see that we've got camera details. The camera can spin, and there's a cheese slope there that actually has the Beatles on it. Now, this is a good time to point out that everything you see here are all printed pieces. There are no stickers anywhere in this set. There's one other printed piece on the side here, which is a copy of the Ed Sullivan Show set list, listing all the songs that the Beatles played. Then, as we turn the model around, you can see we've got some printed pieces here with signatures and sketches. Of course, they're not actually signed by the Beatles, but they are quite cool. As we go around the model, you can see we've got John, Paul, George, and Ringo, as well as some other cool little scribbles here and there, and I think that that's great. Now, as far as the build experience goes, there's really not too much to say. If you're used to building Lego, it is a little bit different. Like, pressing all of these tiles down, my thumb was really starting to hurt because it was a lot of work. But the main thing, again, is that this retails for $80, and I think a lot of that price goes into the wiring of the lights, which I promise we're going to get to, don't worry. But if we lift this up and look at the bottom, you can see that it's completely plated off. And we do get these nice red rubber pieces here that keep the model from getting pushed around too terribly much. But the entire center inside is the wiring for the actual mechanics, if you will. And like I said, it all connects to this USB that, again, comes all the way out of the back. Then it runs to a central, like, computer node, if you will. Then all of the wires run out to the front of the model to make the lights light up. I do think it's a cool feature, don't get me wrong, and it does look pretty good when it's all said and done. The issue that you run into, though, is that I think that actually drove the price up because, of course, putting the mechanics in there and the wiring and everything, I'm sure that wasn't cheap, but then when you do that, it makes the whole price of the model go up. So I honestly think I would have rather just not had the functional lights at all, and maybe it land around $60 or even $70. I just don't know that the price difference is worth what we get in the end. So speaking of that, why don't we go ahead and take a look at those lights now. Now, as mentioned, the lights are triggered by pushing the Beatles sign in. Okay, my studio lights are now off, and ironically, the best way to show how the lights work is from the back, although they do look the best from the front. So here's one click. So with one click, we get all of the lights on, and they're super bright. Then with another click, you can see that they kind of fade in and out up all around. You can see the lights are starting to blink there. If we click it again, we get the lights kind of fade in and out in a similar sequence, but a little bit more randomized between the two. And then, of course, another click turns them all off. So now I'll flip the model around and show you what it looks like from the front. So here we are with the lights being clicked once. Click it again, and you can see that those backlights stay on, but these ones are kind of starting to come in and out a little bit. You can see it on the figure's faces. Click it again, and we just get a little bit of a different sequence for the lights. Click it one more time, and all the lights go off. So, as I mentioned, I do think the lights are cool, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, I really don't think it was worth the price hike. So, with that being said, let's wrap up the video now. Also, guys, coming at you real quick, my friend Brody and I designed a Lego Kiss set, and we need your help to get it made. If you head to the link down below, you can head to Lego Ideas and support the set. If we get 10,000 signatures, we can turn this into a real set that hopefully we can all go to the store and buy. So, shout it out loud, you got nothing to lose, and sign up down below. Takes 30 seconds, and it'd be a big help. Thanks so much. Alright guys, well, let me know what you think of this set in the comments down below. As I said from the beginning, $80 is a lot of money for what's here. You can get some pretty insane Lego sets for $80, but as a diehard Beatles fan, there was no way I wasn't gonna pick this up. And I definitely do like it. It just, it's hard to recommend with that price point, but if you love the Beatles like me, I promise you're going to love this set too. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'll catch you guys on the next video, and until then, build on.